Welcome back to Monday Morning Motivation. You guys, I don't even think it's been that crazy of a week. I have not updated you since my Arizona trip, which was just so much fun. I hadn't seen my best friend Maddie in almost, no, it was 1.5. I was going to say almost 2, but 1.5 years. We went to Waste Management, which is a golf tournament thing. And honestly, I'm getting kind of old for like the big crazy sporting events in the general public. Like it was a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but just something about, I don't know, being in the sun, standing in lots of lines, plural. It was just a lot and a lot of people, but in a good way. I guess that just means I am getting old, but the trip was very overdue. I love when my friends live in fun places, so I get to go visit, and it was much warmer there than it had been here. And then we came back to Houston and transitioned right into the warm, normal February weather, which we love. I've been going back on my morning walks and taking Frankie, and I'm like, okay, I've been a bad dog mom, so we're going to start getting back into those again because he didn't sign up for this life. He deserves to be walked. It's also my first week with no Pure Bar, which I think it's always weird coming back out of travel week anyways, so it didn't hit me as hard, but it definitely was a little weird, but also nice getting back into a more kind of consistent routine both at night and in the mornings because we were going to bed a lot earlier and I was able to get up a lot earlier. Just I love that kind of consistency because when I was teaching the 5 a.m. class, it didn't matter how early I went to bed. I feel like I still couldn't fall asleep at like the time I needed to. And then it would definitely throw off my week a little bit. Although it was Garrett's mom's birthday on Wednesday, and I had like 3 glasses of wine and stayed up till 10:30, and I struggled the next day. So, it's a good thing to be so consistent because your body feels it, but then the second that you're not, it also feels that. So, it's fine. We recovered. Everything's great. I also finally, if you've been following the saga, finally had my doctor's appointment, annual physical. I haven't been embarrassingly in a long time, insurance and life and New York City is just hard, but I have had gut health issues for also like probably my whole life, but they've come to the forefront more recently. And I've tried the like hair testing and all the different like allergy things at home. And everyone was like, Gabby, you need to just go to a doctor and like see someone. So my plan was to go do my physical, get my blood work up, all done. And I was kind of anxious about it. I was seeing a new doctor as an adult, especially a whole physical like that, and having to try to advocate for yourself. I don't really even know where to begin with all that, but he was recommended to me by a friend. So I had pretty high hopes for that. But then I get there, I find my parking, I go inside, it's all good. And then my insurance didn't work, which was so sad. And long story short, I'm on Garrett's insurance now. I was so pumped. I'm like, I'm going to all of the doctors. But for whatever reason, he was not aware or made aware that he had to submit a bunch of verification paperwork, probably like our marriage license. I don't know the details, but I had to call the insurance because it wasn't working and they booted me off of it at the end of January. We had to call Garrett's company and I was like, they're not going to talk to me. So I'm going to just save us all the headache and the time and I'm going to reschedule. So I was really looking forward to keeping you guys updated and let you know all the fun things about my health if you have any gut issues too, which I feel like is a pretty normal thing nowadays. Not normal, but a widely occurred. A lot of people have gut issues, but stay tuned. You'll have to come back next week. Ideally, I can go see them, but we're going to get into the episode. I talk about habits all the time. I am very obsessed with them, and I think they're very important no matter what you're doing in life. Actually, maybe not, but if you're listening to this, you probably care about doing cool things and have dreams in your life. Okay, so with that being said, I wanted to talk about it more in the time that I was kind of learning how to develop habits, which habits would help me, instead of from the lens of now where I can see that they all compounded. I saw the habits that I was creating when I was trying to become a Rockette, when I was trying to just make that move to New York City. And I think back and I don't know if I believed all of the things were actually compounding that I did. And if you feel that way, this is definitely for you because it's hard to see all the invisible behind the scenes things that are actually helping you and getting you there. The first one is kind of shocking if you know anything about me now, but I am naturally not a morning person. Very crazy. Growing up, I literally would sleep in on the weekends or whenever I could, I guess, not on school days, but I would sleep in till like 10 o'clock on the weekends. No shame. Loved being comfy. I still do to this day. I love being cozy in bed. I think I have a lot of unpacking of like procrastination type things that I have in my life as well, which is a whole nother episode. But I think that also added to why I would always want to just stay in bed and I didn't want to get up and I would very easily get overwhelmed with what I had to do in the day. And it was just really easy to stay in bed. I'm sure there's a whole little psychology behind why I'm a night person too. I'm sure there's like what is it, the circadian rhythm, all of that things. When I was trying to level up, do things that scared me, I listened to a lot of podcasts, I read books, and I was very infatuated with successful people's habits and routines and how they got to where they were, which is ironic. Here we are on Kicking It Real. To this day, and I'm sure there are outliers, but all of the really successful people that you read about or hear from, they all are maybe not morning people, but they get up early, which being on the internet, I do see successful people, but I also mean when I say successful people, I'm not talking like the Bill Gates, the Elon Musks of the world. It's not that that is my goal. Work should be yours. But I do see some people talk about how they do work better at night. So you do have to do what works best for you. And it depends on your schedule. However, I always find myself wanting more time in the day. And I kind of knew that in order to do that, I would have to get up early. I think I've talked about this before how one of my New Year's resolutions is to not be late and running out the door to things. But I was that kid that would go to school in the morning, pull out of bed, my alarm would go off multiple times. My brother would be annoyed because he could hear my alarm going off. I was a lot of times late to high school when I was driving because I just stayed in bed till the last minute, which I was probably tired, but I would roll out, no makeup, put my sweatpants on, and go to school. And that kind of carried with me into adulthood. Tried to gaslight's not the word, but I try to justify it. There it is. Justify it a little bit nowadays because I'm always trying to get the most I can out of every second. But I also am sure, again, there's some psychology behind it of why I am naturally that way and kind of wait till the last minute. But just bring it all back, I didn't want to be rushing all the time, especially in the mornings. And I found myself being jealous of morning people because it looked so nice. And I'm a big believer in if you are jealous of someone, it's usually just telling you information about yourself. So I was jealous of people that were morning people. So here we are in my journey. And it sucked a lot of the time, especially when I was kind of starting that morning process. I was in Chicago where it was very cold in the morning and dark and I didn't want to get up and it was very difficult and it took a long time for me to actually start to enjoy it. And I think that's where a lot of the misconception is that it's just going to happen overnight and people just do these habits and it's no big deal. But even when you know you need to do it, it doesn't mean that it's not hard still. I don't know how else to explain it than it's just not an easy thing to do. But I found that I had to replace my bed for not actually replace it, but think about how I could get myself out of bed. And for me, the thought of getting up, being cold, being exhausted. I'm not one of those people that wakes up and gets out of bed and we just start the day. It's people who are like that, my husband being one of them, I always cannot understand it still to this day as a quote unquote morning person. I do not just get up and get after it. Even at the bare minimum, I have to get in my car and drive to my workout class if I oversleep one day or don't get up, which is still a little bit of downtime and like mental prep time. But I am very much that person that instead of laying in bed, I would get up, stay in my comfy clothes, have a blanket nearby if I needed it, if I'm going to be that dramatic about it. But then I got into coffee. So I would literally have my blanket, make my coffee, and go sit on the couch. And then that was my time that I could journal because it felt lower effort to a degree. I knew it was another habit that a lot of successful people journal and reflect and do all of those things. So I was going to do that too, because I guess I kind of was a journal type of person of writing lists and keeping kind of notes in that way. But it wasn't until college, post college time that I tried to make it into a habit. Whereas before it was just when I felt like it or needed to write a list down or what my third grade brain had in mind. But I would journal and do those things. And there are still times I'm convinced that you can never fully change if you're a morning or night person because I still find myself struggling with it. If I fall out of it for a couple of days, I find it really hard to keep that going without an actual conscious effort to say that I'm going to get up. And when I do it multiple times in a row, I feel the benefits. I remember why I like doing it because I have that time for me to wake up, to come to peace with the world, to stay off my phone. It's just always better. So it took a long time to see that result. And then the other one I wanted to talk about was my 5 minute kicking saga, which I am very open about, which is all very true. But I feel like on the short form platforms, Instagram, TikTok, you're seeing the result, right? Like I did all these things and then I booked my dream job. But the reality is when you're in it, it's not all sunshines and rainbows because yes, I did it with intentions to book my job, but I had no proof as it was happening that it was going to happen. You know what I mean? I didn't know that that was going to pay off when it's such a long journey, a long game type of ordeal. It's hard to see the small improvements, the daily increments. It's like when you are watching a child grow up and you're with them weekly or every day, you don't notice it. But then when you have a relative that comes into town and they're looking at the child and they're like, oh my gosh, you've grown so much. And you blinked and you're like, oh yeah, I guess it has I don't know, he or she, whoever it is, has grown up so much. You just don't see it when you're living it, when you're in it every day. And especially something like booking a dance job where it's a lot out of your actual control. It's hard to kind of see that. I think back to the days where I would literally teach a 5 a.m. Pure Barre class. I've talked about this before and have a weird break and then teach two more again, dead of winter. In these breaks that I'm talking about was actually one of the times that I researched and maybe not researched, but I discovered what seasonal depression was because I remember being so frustrated in the dead of winter at 6:30 in the morning, being so unmotivated, not wanting to do it. And I was like, what the heck is wrong with me? And then I looked it up and it's like, oh, seasonal depression's a thing, which didn't know that was a diagnosed thing. I thought I was special. But I literally was looking up seasonal depression essentially because I didn't feel like doing it. But I always ended up doing it because it was just a commitment that I made to myself. And I had almost pressure to do it because it was a chunk of time that I wasn't going to go home. I didn't have time to really go do anything else. And I had a room with mirrors, just doing it, doing the kicks and having the mirror right there. I couldn't do combos or I couldn't do turns and things, but it was like, okay, this is time. I have a mirror. I can look at myself. I can kick. I can get my reps in. And it was hard. There were days where I would actually go nap on the mats in the back and then set an alarm 15 minutes earlier than I knew someone would be coming in, the desk person or clients, whatever the situation was, that I would then be like, okay, I got 15 minutes. I gotta do it. And I would just do it. But all of this to say that like it was not easy in the moment. But at the end of the day, even if I never booked Rockettes, I still knew that I had it in me to set a goal, show up for myself every day, follow through with what I want to do, and work towards something. So even if none of that worked, you still have something for it from it. So I think as long as you are trying to create habits that are going to support you, I don't think anyone ever does that intentionally. Says, I'm gonna create a bad habit. That's a good idea. But as long as you have a good intention behind it, it it will show you really cool things about yourself. I just wanted to remind you that if it feels hard and it doesn't always feel like it's worth it, that is normal, and to trust and stay the course. And if you have a certain habit that you're having a hard time maybe sticking to, or don't know what habit you want to start, my DMs are open. You can leave a comment, you can send me a message, and let's chat about it. My quote, I don't think this is actually a real quote. It is a quote, but I kind of paraphrased it. It's that the easiest way to create a habit is to remove friction. So when you're trying to create a habit, you just got to think about what is going to stop you from doing it. For me, if I'm really cold, maybe that means instead of just telling myself I'm going to get up, I'm going to leave a blanket right next to my bedside. Or if I need to kick at the Pure Barre studio, that I tell my friend, tell my dad, shout out dad, but tell my dad that I'm going to send him a video so I have someone to hold me accountable. You're just moving friction and obstacles that would make you not do it, and it's going to help you. And you got this. And let's crush the week and keep making good habits. I believe in you. You got this.